What's up, party people? This is another rendition of Small Town Podcast. This is episode 4, and we are here in the Loft in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, a little small town outside of Philadelphia, and we are talking to another really great local musician. I call him local just because his name's Brian Medlin, and he is in a few of probably my favorite, local acts from the Lansdale, Philadelphia area. One of them is Legendary Divorce, who are incredible. He also used to be in Personnel, The Minor Times, Inkling, and these are all bands that are some of my favorites, and I was lucky enough to have him on the show. And, we've played shows together, we've shared the same bill, and we've had really great conversations in the past, and I really wanted to kind of have a one-on-one with him here in the Loft at the Small Town Podcast. He's a great guy. He is one of my musical beacons, because whenever I feel bad about being in 400 different bands at one time, where I would feel bad that I'm stretching myself thin, I look at a guy like Brian Medlin, who does a project almost, all the time. He's almost always in a couple different projects at one time, and I think it's kind of cool. He's kind of got like a Mike Patton-esque work ethic, which is something I've always appreciated, something I've always delved into. So I was really excited, and we actually couldn't really decide on a record to focus on. We weren't sure if we were going to do either one Radiohead record or another, OK Computer or Kid A. And we honestly couldn't decide because he brought both. You'll hear in the beginning, we're like rustling around. He brought the vinyl versions of OK Computer and Kid A, and also the CD versions. So I just thought, what the hell, let's just do two. And, they're both great records, and we just kind of wanted to geek out on our love of Radiohead, and just kind of talk about our past influences and, what's going on in music today, and what, we kind of see is repeating itself. Not really in a bad way, but, there's always resurgencies, and there's always a style or like a trend of music that's always going to kind of make a second wave, as the people who appreciated it growing up start to make music themselves. And, we really get kind of philosophical about it, and it's a really cool conversation. And, Brian's been around a while. He's a big influence of mine, and it was an honor. Yeah, it was a good talk. So without further ado, this is my talk with Brian Medlin. Here we go. I think Kid A would be the one. Do you have Kid A? I see a tiny.
Okay, so I
see a tiny 10-inch.
Are we already like rolling or whatever?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I already hit record.
Yeah.
Dude, those are my two favorites.
Well, you said these two. I was like, okay. So you told me about this podcast. This is before you had even posted an episode, and you were like, I like to feature an album.
And you have the CDs?
Yeah. Well, I heard someone on, what was it, your first episode? He brought both the album and CD.
Yeah, Tom brought all the Kohi paraphernalia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never had the CDs. That's great. I had both of these vinyls, Kid A and OK Computer, but I had to sell them because I knew they would be like, they would go for a lot of money, and I needed it. And I think I was trying to go on tour with Andros or something like that. And
oh, okay. So it was before that tour.
Yeah, it was the dark times before the Empire.
The dark times.
When I had to sell a lot of my valuable records. But yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, when you told me about the podcast, and you're like, I like to focus it on somebody, and all I said was, I can always nerd out about Radiohead. It's like the way I put it. And you're like, oh, OK Computer or Kid A would be cool. Like, you could have said anything. I would have been fine with it.
And when you mentioned Nirvana too, I was like, oh yeah, Nirvana. But
that's right. I said Radiohead or Nirvana.
You were like, it could be Nirvana or Radiohead, and I was just like, I think it was tough to call, but I wanted to go with Radiohead.
It's fine. I mean, when somebody asks me what's my favorite band, like this is what I'll say. Like I'll say Radiohead. So I'm glad you chose this. And like I said, you could have picked anything. I mean, I don't think these are my 2 favorite albums by them. But here's the thing with Radiohead is like, for me, because I love this band so much, I'm gonna really geek out on this show.
Okay.
Which
dude, it's encouraged.
Which I know. No, I know. I like that's what I like about this show. Like I say, geek out and nerd like in the best way possible. Like everyone who's come on to the show, has nerded out, and it's awesome. Like I like I like hearing somebody really enthusiastic about a band. Like Coheed and Cambria or whatever is not my favorite, but who did you have who's even the episode ended by saying like I don't like Radiohead?
It was Adam Kelly from Little Beast. We were doing Faith No More.
Right.
And I was like, because he's kind of he's in Little Beast, but he only played guitar on like a few tracks. The main guy, Logan, who like he kind of did a lot of the instrumentation for it. I don't know if you listen to Little Beast. They're from around. They're from like Quakertown, but they're amazing, dude. Like they put out probably my favorite local record. And I was telling him that I was just like at the very end, I was plugging the record.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's probably one of my favorite local records. I qualified and say like I wasn't my favorite record of the year because I kind of thought A Moon Shaped Pool was kind of cool too, and I was like going to put that.
Yeah.
I was just listening to that like a couple days ago.
Moon Shaped Pool.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard it?
Oh my god. Well, yeah.
I don't know.
Come on, I'm a nerd about this band.
I know. But
it's my favorite
album. I wanted
album
to make
of the
sure
year.
before I delve deep into it, but
okay. Well,
I was watching the Daydreaming video, and I was like, it's kind of a creepy ass video.
Yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson.
That's right. He directed it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I was just watching There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that they're friends. Then Johnny Greenwood got to do the soundtrack.
Yeah, I know.
One of my favorites.
Soundtrack is awesome.
One of my favorite soundtracks of any movie.
Yeah.
And just it really just it flows with just like it's almost like it's speaking the narrative because there's almost no talking in that movie.
Oh yeah.
It's all,
especially the whole intro of the movie.
It's all visual. So like PTA is like speaking through and Johnny Greenwood like they're speaking the narrative like through because you can hear like the dun, 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 it like it kind of puts you on a roller coaster and all you have to do is listen to the soundtrack.
Definitely.
So
yeah, I completely agree.
It's a really unique movie that way and it makes you feel.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes the best directors when they can just tell the story visually. They don't even have to tell it through dialogue.
Yeah, and
then of course musically, we'll set the mood. I mean, the opening shot is just that creepy, just
when he's burying the body. Remember when he shoots that guy and he's burying the body, and it's just this dissonant like stretch of, and you're like, it's gonna like, it sounds like a siren.
And it didn't get to be nominated for the Oscars. It did not qualify because because one of the pieces in the movie was used for something else, and like that's apparently an Oscar rule. Like it has to be completely for the film or something like that.
Whatever.
Yeah, it was dumb.
Bullshit Oscars. Dumb. Whatever.
Yeah.
What I also like too was I was watching No Country for Old Men. Another one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, shot like in the same area at the same time.
At the same time, Coen Brothers were like, they were like, PTA and the Coen Brothers were going back and forth because like, I think they were trying to shoot like, they were shooting in Texas for No Country for Old Men. And the Coen Brothers would call it PTA and go, hey, I know you're filming like an oil-based, like oil tycoon, like turn of the century type movie. We can see your like, your flames in our shot. Do you mind, like, because they both shot in Texas?
Yeah.
And then PT is like, oh shit, I'm sorry.
Wow, that's funny.
Can you not shoot like on this day because we're scheduled? Like,
yeah.
I thought that was kind of funny. But those two movies are one of my favorites, like of all time, like modern classics. If I were to do that, but yeah,
definitely.
Speaking of modern classics,
I would go there. Speaking of modern classics,
yeah, I think these two were like, well, first of all, one was like. When because like I think Radiohead had just at one point just everyone knew about them even if you didn't particularly like them and like started nerding out on them. Like obviously we started playing music at a ridiculously young age, but what was like what was the point in your lifetime that you were like, okay, I'm really gonna get into this band and see what they're about, and how young were you? Were you like 12, 13?
Well, no, I mean,
because it took me a little while. It took me
for like getting really
I was almost in
into
college
it and, I was totally falling in love was OK Computer, and I was in high school when it came out. Because what is it? It's 98, I think.
98, 97, 98.
Let's look at it. 97, 98, something like that. So I mean, 97. Sorry. So 97. I was in 10th grade. I'm an old man. I guess I'm the oldest guy you're gonna have on this show, probably. Yeah, and I just completely fell in love with it. I mean, I was familiar with them before. Like Creep, obviously, is like a huge
you hear them on
song.
You hear the obvious songs on the radio.
That's the thing about saying like Radiohead is my favorite band, because everybody knows that song.
Yeah.
And then maybe they don't know anything else. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about like
I've run into that.
I'm talking about like Joe Schmo, like people at like my office at work or something like that. If I were to say Radiohead, if they even know Creep, they'll know.
They'll say
Creep,
something like,
you know what I mean?
"Oh yeah, like Rock Band and Guitar Hero," like or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, "Yeah, sure, if that's where you want to go." But
so,
yeah, Creep is such a it's such a tip of the iceberg type of song where like it doesn't really even come close to what they did as a band and like the impact that they had like on like 90s and like into the new millennium, because like I think that's what's so crucial about these two records, OK and Kid, that it was right. Everyone was freaking out about. I always link music back to culture. I don't know why. I'm a big
Y2K.
I'm a big Y2K. I'm a big culture nerd, and I was like, and I always trying to put music into context with the times because I think it reflects each other.
Oh, it absolutely does.
And I think it provides like this kind of story where like the music is kind of reflective of society, and then vice versa and all that. But like I think with OK Computer, it was like. I think like in an interview they're like, oh, like we were just recording the songs, we didn't have a name for the record, but when we were tracking, it was just like, we would do these takes and double takes, and we'd be like, okay, computer, go, like that's like kind of how they came up with the thing, because they were like, I guess like predicting like with foresight kind of like the impact of like how prescient and like how big an influence that computers would have on music. Yeah. And just like technology and all that, and like where the millennium was headed and all that. And then like, of course, like Kid A comes out and it's like, what is this? No one knows what to think of it. Right. And like, it's like one of the most like challenging, I think I read that somewhere. I'm taking someone's words. It's like one of the most challenging like records put out on a major label, because like everyone's like, I don't even know if this counts as music. It's like no one had ever heard a thing like it before, and I think that's what's sort of fascinating about it, because they took such a huge risk from it was only like 7 years before that they were doing Creep, with this like heavy guitar, and then they just ditched guitars altogether. They were just like, we just like theremins now, and so, and I think it's super fascinating that they had this committed evolution, and they wasted no time in breaking this really, really new ground that no one else was really doing. And I think, this is the beginning of my nerding out.
That's all right. I'm glad you're just like saying it all for me. I mean, I feel the exact same way. Like, it's interesting. I never heard that story about OK Computer Go. I always thought of OK Computer as just like their way of personalizing the computer, and just by calling it OK, it's like you're making it human.
Oh, okay.
Or something.
I can feel that. Yeah, you're like you're bringing it to kind of a human level where it
has flaws and it has mistakes and it's not perfect, and but a computer is obviously supposed to be. So
I think there's a kind of a double meaning that way, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure, and they do whatever the hell they want. Yeah, they've got the middle track of the computer talking voice that the Minor Times stole.
Oh, and what song? what was the song?
On Making Enemies, we just have a track in the middle.
How did I not notice this?
Is similar, just in the sense that it's like this writing.
Is it Glass Ceilings or?
It was called. What do we call it? The Eye in the Sky.
Eye in the Sky.
Matt Leo actually wrote the words to that.
No way.
To that little computer part. Yeah. Yeah.
what's going on with the Minor Times? Like, what is it like? Still kind of like just? Is there any hope for any new music or?
I'm hoping that there's 2 songs that we recorded that never got released. It was supposed to be for a split.
I remember that. I remember like a little blurb on Facebook about songs that were from Summer Wolves era and never really made it to any kind of format, any kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. It was. It kept changing. It was going to be a split, I think, with Engineer. Then it was going to be a split with. I don't remember who else. So like it was going to be maybe on Relapse. It was going to maybe be on something else. But it. We decided against the vocals. I don't know. Mostly the Leos were kind of just like, let's redo the vocals. And it was like left at that.
All right. It wasn't quite ready for prime time.
Yeah, I guess. And that's kind of just why it got shelved. And I don't know. I guess now we're at the point where it's like, who the hell cares? Let's just put it up.
I know. And I was just speaking as a devoted fan, I guess.
No, I know. Well, and that's why I'm saying is I hope we eventually just put it up. Because I don't really care at this point, like what the vocals are like. I think they're fine. Yeah, I always thought they were fine, actually, but...
And you know what? There's plenty of I guess the bands that you're active in now, like Wives and Legendary Divorce, like they kind of fill the void in a sense, because like I get a lot of that just noisy, really dramatic post-hardcore from that, which is like what I really dug about. I was never really like a hardcore kid. Like I liked punk. I liked when the Minor Times were like, when you were signed to Prosthetic and all that, and but I don't know why. It's just like I fucking loved. I saw you guys at the VFW in Lansdale, and dude, it was like I was so young and virile, and I just thought it was so cool. And I was trying to be in local bands, and I was trying to do my own thing. Yeah, and I was super into it, and I was.
Did we have the lights?
Yeah, you had the lights and the TVs.
Okay.
The staticky TVs.
Yeah, cool.
Which I thought was pretty neat. But yeah, I was like super into it, and like I don't really like any other like that kind of like mathy metalcore. Like, I mean, like I got back into like when I let someone out, like there's a dude at college who kind of shared my interest. I'm like, dude, this band is from my local town, like the town I'm from. They're called Minor Times, and they're like, oh yeah, they kind of sound like Botch, and I'm like, who's Botch? And they're like, you like this band but not Botch? And I'm just like, dude, I just know this band. Like I don't really know metal. I knew Poison the Well. I was my brother and I were into Poison the Well. And he was just like he showed me Botch and Coalesce, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is it. Like I was like, this is way cool. Was that kind of the thing? Like
we definitely got compared to Botch all the time, and we were certainly listening to him.
And you know what? I wouldn't even call it like that close. Like I think you guys actually took it somewhere. Like I know when bands are just like when they sound like an influential, like band of that genre. Like I don't know. Like I don't really see you guys as that similar. I can see where someone can draw the similarity. But like I don't know. I never really saw it that closely.
Yeah, I mean our older band.
You definitely had a voice of your own. So.
Thanks. That's cool to hear. I mean, our older band that we did, Inkling, was like our high school band. And I'm saying our because it was a few of the same guys from the Minor Times. We were probably way more into Botch then, I would say. And we were certainly into Coalesce. Like that's the band that like for me and especially Tim, Leo, the guitar player, just kind of blew our minds the first time we heard Coalesce. It was like the way you're describing Radiohead, it was just like nothing we've ever heard before. It was ridiculous. They're
kind of those like I hate saying this. They're kind of like a cult classic type band because like you wouldn't think of them as like an influential band, but when you listen, they're like, wow, no one was doing this. Like holy shit. Like
I feel like they're way overlooked. I mean, I guarantee Botch was listening to Coalesce. You know what I mean? And everybody, I think when they talk about like the math core, they're talking about like Botch and Dillinger Escape Plan and stuff like that, at least the early days I guess of the math core, and I bet you they were all listening to Coalesce. I don't know, because for us anyway, it was like when Give Them Rope came out, which is like before everybody got all the
God,
crazy
give them
off
rope.
time stick.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That was the first just like
Yeah, they were, like-
insanity off time signature stuff that I ever heard.
They were like one of the first that like imbued, like I guess like this technicality, this I guess kind of musicality that hardcore didn't have, and you know, because like in the '90s when you thought hardcore, you thought like I don't know, agnostic fronts and
Earth
like,
Crisis.
Earth.
Yeah.
I think and I think they were also one of the I guess the proto mathcore type of bands because like
Earth Crisis?
Yeah.
They got mathy?
I don't know.
I didn't know that. I don't know.
I think they were the first to be kind of experimental and imbue, I guess, a little bit of metal into hardcore.
Okay.
But like,
Yeah.
I think from there it was just like once people were like, "Oh, you can do this," and I think people kind of took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
Botch and Coalesce and
That's really interesting to me because what appealed to me so much about Coalesce and Botch and everything was that they weren't the chuggy hardcore that Earth Crisis was. And don't get me wrong, when I first got into hardcore, I loved Earth Crisis, like Firestorm, and this is like still I think an awesome song, but like
oh, dude, yeah.
It's yeah, that's just strange to hear. I mean that's what appealed to me about Coalesce is just that they were just like noisy and wild and just were way more like I guess punk in the sense of just that it was just
Yeah, I think they
more
had
wild, noisy.
They had really good ideas about the genre where it could get kind of, I guess, stagnant and muddled. Where it's just like you can listen to one song of this type of music where it's very aggressive, it's in your face, but it's hard to kind of stretch that out into like a whole album.
Yeah,
and you know, imbue as much musicality to justify a whole like 9-10 song record. But they really did it really well because you know they would have kind of their really intense fast songs and then like they would spread them out. Like they actually made albums that were like, you know, I think that was kind of cool that they kind of bridged that gap between a hardcore band that writes like 1-2 minute songs into like a band that can actually take the genre and make 3-minute songs with verses and choruses and in some respects, I mean, because it wasn't that stagnant.
yeah.
But like, dude, when what's that song? What happens on the road always comes home. Mm-hmm. Holy shit, I love that song. I was so about that song because like it starts out with this crazy, the drummer's going nuts, and then like within like 30 seconds, it goes into that really like ding-a-ding-a-ding, that really southerny riff, and I'm like, oh yeah. I was like, whenever I hear that, I'm just like, I get this like face of like. God,
Yeah, you got to do the face.
You got to do like the really like the southern badass riff face.
Yeah.
But that's so good.
Yeah, and they weren't. What also appealed to me, there was nothing like hardcore had this like very tough guy kind of attitude and like jock mentality a little bit to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which never ever appealed to me. That's always what
Straight
turned
edge
me
and like
away from just the chuggy kind of hardcore. Like I don't know. I just after a while, once bands really starting really like moving the genre of hardcore around, I just always looked at the straight up chuggy dancey hardcore as just like the pop version of hardcore because it was just like It was like easy listening or something like that because it's I don't know, you'd get to a show and it was like kids just waited around just to hear that like just part, you know, and I don't know.
Just so they can mosh and dance.
Yeah, just so they can mosh and dance and
tune out and just.
And I mean, I get it. I don't want to like put down all of those bands. I completely understand it, and there's a reason for it. And that, you know what I mean. I'm comparing it to pop, but it's like I like pop music. I like to hear something that's just like nice and friendly, and that I can dance to, and feels good to my ears.
Right. It's meant to be somewhat in the background, so you don't have to think about it way too much. And then there are those bands that like go like, hey, listen, we're actually doing a cool thing. Like if you actually kind of, you know, take the time to digest like, you know, this riff and then this how it goes into this part and like we're telling a story type of thing. It's just like, you know, gather around, kids. We're actually doing something. Like,
and I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's a balance because I don't like when I never got into bands that got too complicated. You know, I think there's like a somewhere in between because I also don't think. Yeah, that music should be like studied and you know how are they doing that or just that's just
I mean,
music is obviously just taste, and it's just not what I'm into. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just want it to sound good.
And some bands pull it off. Like, that's the beauty of, like, I mean, like, I've been in bands, like, for, I mean, like, you're actually one of the few people that make me feel better about being in so many projects, because, like, sometimes I'll be like, am I in too many bands? And then I look at Brian Medlin and it's like, okay, I'm okay. So, I think I can be in this punk band that needs me on drums.
Yeah.
But like, no, but thank you for that. That's the vote of motivation there.
Well, I mean, I just listen to so much music, and so I don't know. So I want to play so many. I don't know. It all feels good. It feels amazing to be playing in the Minor Times. You know, just crazy loud music, and then it feels amazing to play acoustic and hear a pin drop in the audience. You know, both are equally satisfying to me.
Yeah, and you're good at both. Like,
thanks.
Because you were is the Elk Band still a thing? Like, you and
yeah, we're doing vocals right now to our follow up to the previous
the main
Elk Band
self-titled.
Yeah.
Effort. Effort.
Every solo thing I've ever done, I've always really wanted a backing band, so it took me this long to finally get one, is really just the way I look at it. Sure. You know?
And it's more like singer-songwriter oriented, kind of like Bob Dylan, and a lot like your solo stuff. Speaking of Bob Dylan, I did want to touch on this because it's fairly new. How'd you feel about Leonard Cohen passing away?
Oh yeah. I mean, I had the first 3 Leonard Cohen albums on CD. I enjoyed them very much.
Was he sort of an influence on you as much as like Bob Dylan was, or?
No, not really so much. You know what I mean? Like I had those albums, and I had a greatest hits too. It was like a double disc. You know, back when people bought CDs. You know, because I thought it was funny. You're like, oh, I didn't have these CDs, and I only had the vinyl, and it's just again, I'm like forgetting my age. Like I had a wall of CDs. You know,
I could open this closet door right here, and there's like 2 milk crates full, you know, double stacked, all CDs.
Yeah. Okay,
and like
good.
they're mostly, it's mostly.
Glad to hear that.
Just saying, like, you don't even have to look in there right now. It's mostly Bad Religion. That's all. It's every Bad Religion's on CD that you'll ever. Because when I was 12 and 13, I was obsessed with it. And I still.
So if you were interviewing yourself for your own show, would you do a Bad Religion show?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would do Process of Belief, Suffer, and No Control in one episode.
Wait, didn't you try out for drums?
Yeah.
For Bad Religion or something? What happened with that?
It never really came to anything. It was like,
well, you're not playing in Bad Religion. I know that.
Obviously,
but I'm just saying.
I'm not playing Pukal Pop in
like
Germany.
I didn't know. All I saw was your video, so I didn't know how like the process went or anything.
When I was like 13 and like punk rock barged into my life, it like they were my band. Like at a young age, it was like they were so crucial to me. They were like I would listen to Process of Belief, the record, like it was because like they've been around since the 80s, but this one record that they came out with when I was like 13 is called The Process of Belief, in like 2003 2002 or something like that. When I first heard it, I was like, it was like a kick in the ass. It was like, I'm like, okay, this is it, I'm gonna be in a band. I'd heard music before, but this was the first record that was just like, you know what I'm talking about. It was like that one record that just went like, get out there and kick your ass out the door to go find friends to play music with and write your own songs and make your own records and stuff like that. That Process of Belief was that record. Yeah. And like I was playing drums at the time. I was in like a school band and all that, and I was so obsessed with them. I was just like, I had this deal with like not a deal, but like I would tell my friends like kind of jokingly, if the drummer for Bad Religion now were to ever like die or you know it's something, because like their old drummer in the 90s like had a shoulder problem. And this guy named Brooks Wackerman came in, who plays for like Tenacious D and Suicidal Tendencies, and he was in the Vandals for a while. Like he's one of my favorite drummers ever. But Process of Belief was his first record, and I was just like, if something ever were to ever happen to this guy, and he lasted all up until 2015, last year. And so like he leaves the band. As soon as I look on the news, whatever, like on music news site, it's like Brooks Wackerman has left Bad Religion. I'm like, here we go. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like this like old like monster awakened, and I was just like, I got my friend Matt Troop, who's a videographer. He videotapes a lot of Andross stuff, and I was just like, dude, just come over right now, like, and this was at my dad's house, and I was just like, just do this for me, just like we'll take 2 hours and film this thing. He's like, what do you need? Like, what's going on? I'm just like, I'm gonna like do like a video audition and just put it on YouTube. And
So
I don't care what they didn't come to me at all.
Yeah, so they didn't like put out like they were officially
Nope.
trying out. I thought it was something like that. Like they just made an announcement like, hey, send us your video or something. You just did that on your own.
I knew like my old like just middle school, junior high friends that like punk rock, that some of them I still stay in touch with. Like I knew that it was almost like for them, almost like, hey, remember when I said this? Like,
Yeah.
Well, I did it. The guy left,
Yeah, that's awesome.
and this is my fair shot. And like, it's still like, dude, I would do it in a heartbeat if they were to just, you know, if one of them saw it and were just like, hey, just come out and like, I would do it in a sec. I wouldn't even think about it.
Yeah.
I would drop everything and just move to Santa Monica. But like, yeah, it was just like a little fun thing. I knew nothing would come of it. And then people would ask that. They're like, dude, what happened? And I'm just like, what do you think happened?
Yeah.
But no, it was just like, obviously they had this guy, I forget his name, but it's the drummer from he for a very long time he was the drummer for the band And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead.
Oh, I love that band.
Yeah. And I was just like, all right, cool, good choice. And they had already obviously had him lined up to do it.
Okay.
And they weren't looking at audition tapes. They didn't give a shit. Like, they were just like, yeah, they had someone lined up already.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
Brooks had like give them a heads up months before, and they had no interest in taking auditions. And I knew that. I was just like, I just wanted to do it just because
Yeah.
it would just be fun. And just like, it's better than seeing just like another cover on YouTube of like someone doing it. I just thought, provide a little context, provide a little presentation.
Yeah.
But that was that.
That's cool.
But yeah, I was so into them, and like just at like an early, because like, you know, I had vague interests in like bands, and it's just like I was trying to find my way and whatever. Like my brother was really into like, he was getting into like Every Time I Die, and like we were into AFI was another band. Like I was really into AFI and Alkaline Trio, but when I first heard Bad Religion, that was the band.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what, it's just the way they do the 3-part harmonies and just the pace of it. Like it's almost like if I don't feel like getting coffee in the morning, I'll just put on a Bad Religion record and go to work.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
I'll be pumped up. I'll be good for the rest of the day.
Mhm.
Just because like it's just something that pumps in my blood. So like, and I don't think that'll ever go away. Like, and I think do you have a band like that just like you always have like a phase, and it's almost like in order to usher in new interests, like new bands, you have to like consciously say, I'm not going to listen to this band. I know I want to, because if it were up to me, I would just listen to them all the time.
Well, I don't know about that, but the way you were first describing it as a band that I heard, and it was just like, all right, I want to play in a band. What was the alternate pick for this evening was Nirvana. That's why I said Nirvana, because the first time I heard them, I mean, I was younger, and I mean, I was really young when Smells Like Teen Spirit came out. I was 10. I guess maybe you weren't even born or something. I don't know how old you are.
Jeez, I was zygote.
91.
91. I was 1 year old.
Okay.
I was a year old.
All right. So yeah, I mean, I was in elementary school. I was listening, I was down with like Boyz II Men and Nirvana at the same time.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
that's actually a good dichotomy. I mean, like,
yeah. So like, because that for everyone was just like, oh my God, like, what is this? It just they completely broke the radio and was just like,
it was
like enough of the 80s. Like, let's just hear something just raw and straight out of a garage. And again, you know what I mean?
it was enormous. It was almost like a 9 on the Richter scale, and just it blew the doors open for everything. Like,
they kept comparing it to Beatlemania. They were calling it Nirvana Mania.
Yeah.
Because after that, every record label was just like, oh, you play, electric guitar, you're signed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of bands took cue, and they were just like, okay, we have this style. How do we kind of get all these like Nirvana people that are like kind of hypnotized by this new thing, and we can kind of incorporate it into our sound? And that's why, oh my God, it was like the major labels had a field day, well, I guess a field decade in the 90s. Like, just they wanted to pick up any band they could, and because they had this barometer, they had this like thing that they could like compare it to and just be like, okay, you got to get this good. You have to be on this level of emotion and just good songwriting and radio listenability and production quality. Like, you have to, like, if you can do this, you're signed, and we'll put you on tour, and we'll do this. So like, you had a lot of, like, this is an interesting article. I figured if it was like NME or one of those like British rock magazines or whatever, and they look at the 90s of all like the failed like grunge acts that like didn't really happen because they were clearly just trying to ride the coattails of this big Nirvana boom. Yeah, and it's super interesting. And you know what? Of course I had heard "Smells Like Teen Spirit" like at like I had to be like 10 or 11 or something when I first started listening to rock radio. It's just basic fundamentals of like rock and roll classics.
Yeah, like that's their Creep.
Yeah,
like Radiohead has Creep, and
absolutely.
Nirvana has "Smells Like Teen Spirit." Yeah,
you can't. It's ubiquitous. Like you can't even escape it now. I think the more and more time passes, the more I hear that song. It's that.
Yeah, now it's like a classic rock song.
It's like the classic rock. It's like it's like goddamn Hey Jude. It's like it's like this thing you will never be able to. I'm sure baby boomers are like, I cannot escape that Hey Jude song. I can't escape "Smells Like Teen Spirit." Yeah. And I didn't really like actually take interest in them in like, you know, Bleach and Utero, and actually start like breaking down like the records and like, you know, where they'd come from, how they stopped and all that. Yeah. I was probably like in high school I think I was in high school. It was when I was like 17 or 18. I was just like trying to find new interests or whatever. And I was really into Bleach for a while. Bleach was my record. And Nevermind, I was just like, I tried to avoid Nevermind because I thought I was too cool for it.
Right. And it's the popular one. You can't like it.
It's this butch big wall of sound. Like,
right.
Whatever. But dude, I still love, and even though I love In Utero and Bleach, one of my favorites and when it comes on the radio, I will let it play. It's In Bloom. In Bloom is such, and just because that rules. Dude, those drums in the beginning, that he like, I think my buddy Chris Fox said it, like Dave Grohl wrote like pop drums. He wrote like where a singer would write hooks for the melody or the words. Dave Grohl would write pop drum parts. Yeah, definitely. Because like they're just like, they would get stuck in your head. Yeah. Just like it's like, you know it right away. And
every hit is just like perfectly solid. I mean, so that's also why I just completely fell in love with Nirvana, because first of all, that, you know, Nevermind just got me into rock music. But then by the time In Utero came out, I was a teenager and I was just in it full force and first learning how to play drums. So Dave Grohl just taught me how to play drums, because when I first just kind of wanted to play drums, and my friend had a drum set at his house, I didn't like know how to do anything, but I was super into Nirvana, so I would just listen to, I had my Nirvana tapes. Again, to show you my age, I had Nevermind and In Utero on tape.
Don't break a hip. Christ.
I just listened to those and just like air drummed in my room, and that's how I learned. Like Dave Grohl just taught me how to play, and when you were saying how it kind of came full circle for you with Bad Religion, it felt that way with Nirvana. The first the band I'm playing in now, Legendary Divorce show. We started was as a Nirvana cover band, which is at a Halloween show. We're just like, let's play some Nirvana songs.
Well, yeah, because Legendary Divorce is from Scentless Apprentice or
Serve the Servants.
Serve the Servants. That's right.
Yeah. We were like a tribute band. Let's name our band, you know, after a lyric or whatever like that. And it was like a year later, almost maybe, is when we were just like, let's actually be a band. But yeah, that just felt like full circle, just playing that show, because like I invited, you know, some of my brothers out to it and everything. My brother that I shared a room with while listening to all those Nirvana tapes, you know what I mean? It was just like, it very much felt
Destiny
full
complete.
Circle. Yeah, it was just like, here is all the songs I was air drumming to. I completely know all these by heart. I mean,
what was your favorite one to play? Like
at that show?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know.
What's that like one that's like, oh yeah, this is the song I'm waiting for to play. Like this is the one I really give my all.
I don't think there really was one. I mean, yeah, there really wasn't. We played some like deep cuts off of In Utero, which I thought was a lot of fun.
Well,
it was pretty
very
like
Ape and
In Utero heavy. We didn't do Very Ape. No, it was great practicing for that band because we practiced so many songs. I mean, our set was maybe like 8 songs or something, but we probably at practice played like 20 songs or something.
Dude, that'd be so.
Because at practice it was just like, hey, do you guys know this? And everybody's like, well, yeah, of course. We know all these, and we would just go right into it and play it. And, hey, do you know this? And we go right into it and play it.
Sifting through the catalog to find the ones that you really want to play for people, to make sure you don't, like, miss a big opportunity for people to, like, really freak out, that's hard because, like, there's a lot of just well-known Nirvana songs. Like, their catalog is just so universal. Like, everyone just,
definitely.
like, do we play Rate? Everyone knows Rate Me. What about shit? How many people know About a Girl? Like, it's like it's like you have to like rack your brain. It's like we only have 8 songs. Can we play 10? Like, like.
Well, we definitely played whatever the hell we wanted because again, like it was so many of like
you have to go
cuts.
You have to go with the ones.
But
that, like,
there was like a few.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We opened with Breed, I guess. Is like maybe like
that riff. Like sometimes Broseph Gordon-Levitt will sound check with that, like because we're in drop D and like it's like it's so heavy when you like. I don't think he plays it in drop D, but does he?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Does he?
Actually,
Does he tune down? I don't know, but like when Broseph plays in drop C sharp, but like in the tuning we'll just play that to like test our guitars, like and sometimes we'll not stop, and the sound guy's like, okay, he's giving us the thing, like we got it, because we'll go into like the second verse, and everyone's because we're just sound checking, but everyone watching us is dancing and like freaking out, so we don't want to stop. But dude, Breed is so good.
Let's just play the whole song.
Yeah.
They're like high part in the song. I completely stole it on the latest Wives thing, or whoever plays in Wives. I don't know who that is.
I think I don't know either. So whoever plays in that band, like but whoever plays in that band, I would like to compliment them because it's called Wifes. Is that what it's called? Or Wife?
Well, the latest one is...
It's all variations of Wives.
Like, so the latest one is just called Wife.
Wife.
It was done completely by Nico Warhol, like himself.
Right.
So yeah, that one, the latest one is called Wife.
Well, whoever that person is, they did a great job. Nico's a very talented individual. and so is Mike Ashmore because he produced it.
Yeah.
He did the first Andros record.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think I did pre-pro for him, but yeah, I was like with every record I think he keeps getting better and better.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Mm-hmm. But
I've recorded with him many times, solo, a bunch, and
And with just from what I know about his music tastes, like I know he's really into Fiddler and Single Mothers, and that's what Wives reminds me of a lot. And I think like that's like when he has a project that's like right up his alley. Yeah, he really kind of does it in spades. It's
nice. Yeah, I'm.
You ever listen to those bands?
Not familiar with those bands. No.
They're pretty. Mike is super into them. Like, when you hang out with him, be like, yo, Tim was telling me about Single Mothers and Fiddler because he showed me them. And
I know he likes Mets, which
Mets.
Yeah, you ever heard that band?
No.
They kind of
never heard of
Wives
Mets.
will get compared to Mets a lot. I like that band a lot. That band's really cool.
What?
It's like Mets with a Z at the end.
Mets with a Z. I've never heard, honestly. Are they from here or like Philly?
No, I want to.
I keep hearing about these like newer
New
Philly
York,
bands.
but I'm not positive on that. I'm not good of like where everybody's from.
What are like the newer kind of I guess rock type bands that are you adept at like these newer bands coming out now? Like I guess like what newer sounds are you like getting into? Like is it?
Yeah,
is it hard to?
It is interesting that you're asking that because I'm into a lot of old music. I just like old sounds, and I'm talking like stuff before I was born. Like I'm really into 60s and 70s music a lot.
Oh yeah,
a lot, and it's
well, you guys are doing
mostly what I listen to.
You guys are doing like Genesis records on Volcano.
Oh yeah. So I
that's my favorite episode, the Trick of the Tail. I'm sorry.
The Genesis episode.
That one was really funny. And then
yes, for the listeners, I do a podcast called Volcano Vinyl, where a friend of mine, who I play in the band Legendary Divorce with, it's kind of like a music commentary show, I guess you could say, because
Sure.
we just put on a record and we just have a discussion about it, or wherever discussions lead. You know, like this.
It's a neat idea because
we don't know where it's going to go.
Right.
So.
It's a neat idea because like you can actually you have it playing like in real time. So it's it's almost like you're watching like a DVD commentary.
Right, yeah, or it's like you're sitting around with your friends, like the exact same way.
It's like you actually have the record playing while you're talking about it, and it's like it's actually kind of a neat idea because this is just talk. I mean, like we're not gonna put like Karma Police while we're talking. Like,
yeah. Don't you usually do though? Put intro music right in this show.
I put a song called it's called Small Town, and it kind of it kind of inspired the whole name of it and just the idea of just the name of because like when I first moved in here, I was just like I knew I wanted to start a podcast, but just there's that little corner store over there with the Silk Factory next to it across the street, and there's a school over there. It's like just my block here in Lansdale just kind of reminded me of like a small town. Yeah, it's like I'll just call it small town because it's gonna be up here in my loft. So I just thought small town, whatever. And I wanted to get my first idea was like I just wanted to get like local Lansdale musicians, but I was just like, well, that's a little constricting. I want to get as many people from all areas as I can. Yeah.
Everyone's from a small town, even if you're from a big town. Right. You're from a small town.
Even if you pretend to be from a bigger town, you really live in a small town that's just outside the big. And it's the song. It's actually the song is called Small Town, and it's like the little intro music, and then the transition from my intro into this interview. And it's by a band called Color Film. Okay. They're from New York, and it's the guy from Glassjaw, the singer from Glassjaw and Head Automatica. His name's Daryl Palumbo, who is probably my favorite modern vocalist. And like I take vocal cues a lot from him. Like when I sing in like Andros and Brosa Gordon Levitt, he's one of my bigger like vocal influences. Yeah. And lyrically, I just think I think he's the total package, and I think he's one of the more unsung performers, I guess, in the modern rock thing. Glassjaw, one of my favorite bands. Head Automatica is great, and he does just when he does he'll do one or two records with these bigger bands, with these bigger acts, and then just do a project. He'll go away for like a year, and then he'll come back and he'll be in a new band. One of them was called this one was called Color Film. There was he'll do projects with like Dan the Automator, and just like he kind of springs up kind of like a Mike Patton type of thing with like Faith No More. Yeah, he just likes being active in different bands. If the one main act isn't really pulling it together fast enough, he'll do something else to fill the time.
But it's kind of one at a time. He's not in a million projects like you or I.
Right. It's like it's more compartmentalized, I guess. Like it's more partitioned out. Yeah. More favorably. Yeah. But Color Film, they're really cool. They're like it's got that like kind of 80s type of like almost new wave. It kind of reminds me of like Duran Duran, Echo and the Bunnymen. Yeah. I think it's really, and he uses his vocals that way, where like he's very like just it sometimes it's like kind of silly, but like he can really just like he has these like he'll go like he'll scream, like he'll like kind of not really gruffly, but like he'll be in high register, and it's like it really reminds me of like kind of that 80s arena rock type thing. Yeah, it's really cool. And I've been waiting for like I don't even think they have like a record out, but they just like they'll have songs every now and then that they'll post, and I'm just like, this is so good. I want an album.
Weird. So they just put out singles.
Yeah, just like singles with like a video, and then like I think any band that Daryl Palumbo is in, he'll make all the fans wait. Like Glassjaw hasn't put out Glassjaw have never broken up, but they haven't made a full length record since I was in like middle school. They haven't made a record since 2002.
But they're still considered.
But they never stopped being a band. Okay. I think they put out 2 EPs, like 2 like I guess companion EPs. Back in like 2011. But there were like two different ideas. There were like leftover songs from the last full length that they did in 2002 called Worship and Tribute. So it wasn't technically like a full album of new material, and the thing is they keep teasing it. They're just like they'll put out a song every now and then he also does that with other bands. So it's like it's just like I don't think he's put out like a full length of any band since Head Automatica, like in like 2006. But yeah, I'm a big nerd about that. We could do a whole show about Daryl Palumbo. But
maybe if you didn't do Bad Religion if you were interviewing yourself, you would maybe
I'll do a whole other
episode of myself, Glassjaw or something.
Yeah. I'll clone myself several times and just fill up the catalog of Small Town.
Yeah,
it's like we'll get to another guest eventually, but for now it's just Tim Balch.
Well, you didn't go with Small Town John Cougar Mellencamp.
Shit, that's right. Totally forgot about
which
that.
was another Volcano Vinyl episode, which we like kind of ripped that album apart. Actually,
it's not the best one. I mean, it's not the one I would choose for John Cougar. My dad, I can't, dude. I just hang out with my dad's a really cool guy, and he's actually more of a hipster than I am. He'll actually get me into like, I don't know, like I remember, dude. I used to work with him. Like we would just like work on a job or something, and like he would always have NPR playing on his little boombox. He loved NPR, and then like someone like The National will come on, or something like a really cool band that I'd never heard of, and he would just turn it on, and he was like, "This is a good song." And I was like, "Who is that, Dad?" And he's just like, "You don't know The National?" And I'm like, "Dad, you're a bigger hipster than I am. You're 65." Like it's like, but he would always, whenever John Cougar Mellencamp would come on, he was like, "There's John Cougar Melonhead." He would just, I don't know why he has this disdain for John Cougar, where he calls him Melonhead.
So he never liked him.
No.
Okay.
He just thought like, he'll turn it off, just like dude, that's so. He hates classic rock. He hates it.
Oh, okay.
Like just the typical classic rock, because he's into David Bowie and.
Right, he's into the good classic rock.
Yeah. Right. He's he's very elitist about it, but he's right. Yeah. He's not incorrect. He likes what he likes. But.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the Volcano Vinyl episodes, they're because they're like our parents' records, or they're just records that we got for free or something like that. Like it's we don't always, pick something that we like. It's more just like, and I guess that's what I mean by I'm listening to a lot of 60s and 70s. I'm more just trying to discover something new that way. You know what I mean? Because
gotcha.
I'm an old guy, and I definitely was.
But you're not that old, so you're trying to reach back to.
Well, I'm just saying I was in my element of the 20s where. Yeah. Of my 20s where I was just into everything modern, and I guess I just want to hear something new, and I don't know. I just going that way. I can still hear things new, or it's rediscovering is a lot of what it is, and not that I'm not listening to anything new by any means. I just. That's just kind of like where I'm at a lot right now.
I have to like really like I have been into a lot of newer stuff, and I'm proud of myself, because usually like I'm terrible at like doing this podcast. Actually kind of helped, because like just by talking to somebody, it's just like, oh dude, I just heard this, like just on a whim, and then it just kind of spreads like that. But like,
or somebody mentions band, like you mentioned those two bands earlier. I need to ask you about it later. To like, when we were talking about Wives, like, oh, you haven't heard these two, like
Single Mothers and Fiddler.
Yeah, so that'll be a
surf
good
rock
example for me to just go and check that out and see.
I've been really into like shoegaze. Do you know what shoegaze is? You ever heard of
of course. Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't like. I hate to be
again. You're
patronizing.
talking to an old dude. I came from shoegaze era. Like the Hum was it.
What was Christmas like in the 50s? Like I don't want to patronize you, but no, I mean like, dude, My Bloody Valentine and like Slow Dive and shit like. I've been really into like big washy guitars, and I've been trying to be a better engineer.
Do you get down with Creepoid?
I've heard of them. I haven't really.
Okay.
I'm not there yet.
They're like now shoegaze.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're
and they're awesome.
Nothing are from Nothing are like they're. I've been listening to Nothing for not the band Nothing. So
right.
Excuse me.
Right.
for those listening, I'm not saying I've been listening to not a
band
thing.
Called Nothing.
There's a band called Nothing.
Yes.
And they're actually really good. Mm-hmm. And I think you like them just because they kind of have this.
I do like them.
Production.
I'm familiar.
Okay, good. Some of their songs they're very Nirvana-y. just with the wall of sound guitar, and like it's a lot like I imagine Butch Vig doing the record, but it's actually Will Yip from Studio 4 down in Conshohocken. And you know, they came out with a record this year, Tired of Tomorrow. It's my favorite record of the year. Like, I don't know why. It's just like there's been a lot of good records this year, but this Nothing record just will not leave my CD player in my car. Like,
I need to listen to it more. I didn't like it as much as their last one. I'll
Guilty of
I'll keep
Everything's
listening to it. You know,
and you know what? It's tough because Guilty of Everything is really good too.
Yeah, I liked that album.
Do you like the EP before that, Downward Years?
I haven't heard it.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's like it's a long EP. Like every song is like 6 minutes. So like, you know, they'll have the song and then they'll just disintegrate into this like jam.
Yeah.
Every song, but it's like it's kind of like early. Like you can kind of see the foundation of like, okay, we're gonna make Guilty of Everything a record, so we're gonna shave everything down to like 3-minute songs. But dude, they're so good. I don't know why. And then and they're from Philly. The guy Dominic, I think is whatever. I forget his name, but I guess he's from Kensington. He used to play in like hardcore bands from Philly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it took him a while because he was for like 10, 15 years he was in the hardcore scene. And then he just one day just ditched it all and was just like starting a shoegaze band.
Well, wasn't he in jail or something?
Yeah, he has a crazy ass story.
Yeah.
He went to jail for like aggravated assault or like attempted murder or something like that.
Yeah, something crazy.
Like I think he stabbed someone. Now this is just all I heard about this. I don't know if it's all true, but I think he stabbed someone and it was like allegedly stabbed someone. Right. He was convicted of it and went to jail.
Oh, if he was convicted, then it's not alleged.
Yeah, so like, but listen, I don't trust the Justice Department. I don't know. Maybe not, but he was convicted. But goddamn, it's good. Like, and then just from there, it was like I was talking to somebody. They're just like, dude, just go back and listen to shoegaze. Just like see what shoegaze is all about. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I thought it was too cool for it. Like, and I'm really into My Bloody Valentine now. I'm a My Bloody Valentine guy now.
That's awesome. That's a great band to get into.
Mm-hmm. They're just like, I didn't get it at first. I remember buying the CD like years ago, just because like I saw it for cheap used at a record store, and I literally like in those crates that I have in there of all my Bad Religion CDs, it just sat in there. I never listened to it. I bought it for like $2. Yeah. And it just sat in there. And then I was just like, I think I have this record. And I pull it out and I put it in my car and I'm just like, oh, I get it now. Like, I was just like, this is really cool. And like, I mean, like, I was just like, okay, now I kind of get where the Smashing Pumpkins got it. Like, oh yeah, they kind of paved the way for like Smashing Pumpkins and that kind of.
Yeah, even the Deftones, I think.
And Deftones, yeah, just that dreamy. Thing, yeah.
Yeah. I think Deftones like The Cure a lot too.
And Cocteau Twins. You like the Cocteau Twins?
I've heard of them. I never heard like them.
They're pretty dreamy. Yeah. And Hum. You like Hum?
Yeah, that's what I said when you first said shoegaze. I'm like, come on. I'm like from the '90s. I would listen to Hum. Like,
I completely forgot about Hum. Goddamn.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I loved that band. And Failure. You ever check them out?
Yeah. There's a Perfect Circle song, and they covered Failure, and that's how I got into them.
Oh, really? What song? Do you know?
The Nurse Who Loved Me.
Oh, cool.
It's on Fantastic Planet.
Yeah, yeah. That's my favorite.
And really, that's the only record I could really. Magnified is good. I like Magnified, but Fantastic Planet is probably the one that I'll go back to. Definitely. Is Saturday Savior, is that on that one? Yeah, Saturday Savior is dope. But yeah, dude, it's really good.
So check out Creepoid, man.
I'll check out Creepoid.
Yeah.
Sure. This new, like, I like how, like, there's these kind of very niche genres that are, like, coming full circle again. Yeah. I love just seeing the resurgence patterns.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, music always goes in cycles.
I know.
Always. Yeah.
Like, waves, I guess. Second wave.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's like we were talking about with... I mean, you were saying when Nirvana broke, like, yeah, there was these bands that, like, rode the coattails, but there was also bands that were just already around doing that kind of music, like, I mean, Pearl Jam and things like that, like, bands that were just already doing it that they quick snatched up. Like, I mean, I think that's just what's going to happen again. There's the 90s sound is just really big right now, but it's just not anywhere on the radio right now. I don't think anyway.
It's tough. I don't hear
there's not like any like rock music on mainstream radio. It seems like when you watch the Grammys, there was no. The only like rock band that they had was the last Grammys. I don't know if you checked it out, but it was the only rock band they had was just all washed up dudes. It was like Alice Cooper's new band with the guy from Aerosmith and Johnny Depp and I forget. It was just this mixed match of people, but it was just like, are you serious? Like this is all that's money. This is all that's left in rock music.
It's not. It's just I think that's a big tragedy, because it's like. There's
I'm not saying it is all that's left. I'm saying there's tons of rock music out there. I'm just saying,
they're blatantly ignoring
mainstream, radio and whatever, MTV, if that's even a thing. I have no idea.
No, absolutely not. No, I mean, like, I think I remember, like, wasn't like Mastodon or something like up for a rock album or something?
Oh, were they?
I know Deftones and like Mastodon are always like. They're always nominated for a Grammy in that rock category, but I feel like it's just so what's the word I'm looking for? It's so just I can't even think of the word. It's just like they just shoo it away. They're just like, okay, there you go. Oh, Deftones. They're like, oh shit, we need a rock category now. Like it's like an afterthought. It's like.
I always pay attention to the alternative category. That's always the cool award, where all like the cool bands are at. Because that's like and they when they coined that term, they called Nirvana and Pearl Jam and things alternative because they just didn't know what the hell to call it. But yeah, they're still just using it in that same fashion, like the Grammy Awards, for example. It's just like, well, here's all these other bands that are doing new and original and just cool things. We'll just call it alternative, because even within that category, there's bands that just don't sound alike at all.
No, and even with alternative, it's like they've popularized that too, to the point where like I think now I guess what we would call alternative now could use a Nirvana type of like wake up call, just because like I think like when you think like alternative, like I'll listen to like 104.5. And
I guess they call themselves the alternative station. It's just such a weird word, because it's like, what does that even mean? It's like when the term emo anymore. Came out, like it's like, what does that mean? Like all the music is emotional. Like
when I think emo, I think like I saw something where it's just like they were making fun of Donald Trump, and it was like instead of Trump Pence, it should be Stump Wentz. Patrick Stump and Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy. Right. And it was just like, make America emo again. And I'm just like, well, hold on. At what point was Fall Out Boy emo? Like, I kind of get it. I can kind of get it, but I so disagree with it. Yeah. Because, like, when I think emo, I think, like, American football and the Get Up Kids.
Right. And so do I. Yeah. And it's awesome that you say that, because I thought it would be another instance where I'm the old guy, and I'm like, no, like Jimmy Eat World and Mineral are emo,
Yes. And like, did you ever like Captain Jazz? Like Captain Jazz?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't crazy on him, but I'm familiar.
But yeah, stuff like that, and Owen. I think Owen's very emo. Like I just that era, like early 2000s. Like that's what I think emo was. Like I'll even put Dashboard Confessional in there. Like,
and then there was Screamo, but then Screamo became emo.
Yeah. When I think Screamo, I think like those like really crazy, intense, like Orchid, and like that's when I think I think that I don't think Atreyu. I don't think like
Yeah. I would think like, you ever heard of 400 Years?
Yes.
Yeah, like a band like that.
I think like Saisha and. Page 99, like that's that really intense.
Page 99, that band was awesome.
Holy shit, yeah. And what was that? What was it? Oh my god, because they just came back together, and they're touring with Saddest Landscape. City of Caterpillar.
Yeah.
Remember them? They just got back together.
Yeah, Tim just told me that at one of the last practices. I was just like, wait, you're going to see who? Like, are you serious?
What year is it? Like, yeah. We're gonna go see City Caterpillar and Saddest Landscape. Like, all right, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
but yeah,
Radiohead.
Yeah, this bring it all back together, I guess. Speaking of Radiohead, even though we weren't.
Even though we weren't.
I don't know, man. Like, I was super into like I was really into Karma Police, like that video. I always thought that was like the coolest video ever.
They've always made really cool videos.
I don't know why. It's just I would watch when that would come on MTV2. Like I would watch MTV2 and see Karma Police. And be
and speaking of Coen Brothers, like that video always reminded me of like Fargo.
Fargo,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
I got a little Fargo vibe to that.
Mm-hmm. Or Blood Simple. They both had scenes where it was like that in a way.
Mm-hmm. And I remember, and then like, I think like I would watch that, and then like there was a Saturday Night Live episode where they played Idiotech from Kid A. Mm-hmm. You ever see that? And they play like the national anthem, and I'm just like, they played this on Saturday. You would never see that. You would never see something like that on SNL now. Yeah, it's all like Bruno Mars and.
Yeah, because there wasn't really a single off of Kid A. They were just kind of like, all right, they just picked 2 songs off of the record.
I think they tried to do...
there was an Idiotech live... There was a music video for it, but it was like a live in-studio thing.
Right. Yeah, there was like a video. I remember seeing...
They did make a video, I guess, for...
I remember seeing a video for Idiotech.
For something else, I feel like.
I think... They tried to do a single.
Maybe they didn't.
They tried to make Everything in Its Right Place a single.
Yeah.
But the label was like, no, this is way too off kilter.
Yeah.
There's no way we're gonna be able to justify.
Which is interesting because that probably would be maybe the single off of the record.
Yeah. It would probably be that or.
It seems like it would be like the most.
I think
radio friendly.
Optimistic is kind of singly.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It had to be Optimistic or Idiotech. Those are the only 2 songs I can justify it being played on the radio representing this album. Other than that, it's just like such a side entity where it's just like it doesn't really follow that whole like there's a single and then there's this. It just kind of flows all as one.
Yeah, I mean, it
stands alone as its own thing.
Yeah, I always just thought of Radiohead as like. I like would compare it to the Beatles. Like it's like every band out there is just waiting for their next release. It's just like, okay, so this is what we're doing now. You know, like they're always just like setting the bar. Like, all right, you have to now reach this. Like with each of their albums is always how I felt.
And I think at this point, like I guess in between OK and Kid, like I think they started seeing like the burden of having to tour and play all these shows and make these appearances on TV and all that. I think they kind of started seeing that as a huge burden. I think because like back with the Beatles, like at one point, I guess it was totally cool like back in the 60s to say we are not touring anymore, we're not playing shows, we're just going to be a studio band.
Yeah.
And
well,
like,
that was actually really ballsy. Like that's an example of where all right, like the Beatles did it. Like all right, I guess we can do it now too. They were just they were so huge that they could just say that. You know what I mean?
I don't think any other band would have that luxury.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you told your label, like, we're not going to play any shows anymore, they'd be like, oh, okay, so you're dropped, and have a nice life. Like, they'd be like, you don't want to be on, like, we have to put you on the road. We have to, like, we got to get footage of you playing, and, like, we got, you know.
Yeah.
It's all part of the thing now. Like, it's...
Yeah, the Beatles actually got the idea from Elvis, who did the same thing.
Really? Is that why they did it?
Elvis, like instead of doing a tour, he sent out, like, his car on the road or something like that.
No way.
Yeah, like a
Would he drive, like, a Monte Carlo
like a pink Cadillac or something? just like, went on tour, and it was, like, check out Elvis's Cadillac. You know, so the Beatles, with Sgt. Pepper, their idea was just like, well, why don't we... like send out like this album as in like this thing that goes on tour, like this fake band, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, that, you know, and we'll send that out or something like that. It's like the basic concept, I guess.
I just thought they were just sick of the whole.
Well, yeah, and they were. Yeah, they just didn't want to do it anymore.
Because like at one point
they just couldn't hear each other on stage, and their shows were just like a circus. It was just like, come see, you know, the Mop Top Beatles, and girls would just scream, and they're not even listening to the music, you know. So they were like, "What?" Which is a
shame because
what's the point of this?
Those songs are like far and away the best shit, you know, in the '60s. In my like, when I think of like really great '60s music, I think Beatles and the Doors and like early Pink Floyd records, like, and I'll put Beach Boys in there too. Like those are really great, just like classic '60s records.
Yeah,
and Jimi Hendrix and Like,
oh yeah, you could go on and on. There's so much good music in the 60s, but
what would you say, like, that I remember like NPR over the summertime did like best year for music, which I thought was kind of arrogant, but like
oh yeah, I always hate
that?
this question because there's good stuff from every year, you know.
Right.
You can't pick like the best. I mean, it's just like fun, I guess, just to talk about music.
Right.
You know?
It's fun to deliberate, just like, and to have, this contest, this people going like, I don't know, man. 67, you had Sgt. Pepper, you had Our Experience, and like, it's kind of cool to be like, but it is kind of that like Rolling Stone super arrogant type thing. Like, we get to say of like what the best year of music was.
Yeah.
As if it makes a difference. Like,
yeah, Zach Calhoun. We were off mic. We were talking about Derek Calhoun, but his younger brother. I don't know if you know him, but he's like all into the 90s right now, and has been for like a while. And we were having a conversation about it. He said, I think it was 94. I want to say he was saying it's just like the greatest year in music.
I've heard that.
It's
No,
just like,
I've heard that.
Yeah, well, it's just, I don't know. And he started
He's probably a punk rock guy.
naming
like,
some albums, and I'm like, all right, these are good albums, but and then he's just still going down a list, and then it's just like, well, now you're just naming like pretty good albums.
Yeah.
And it's just how can you like call that the greatest year in music? You just named like a bunch of like B- albums,
right?
And a couple A's.
And if I was a little younger, I would probably agree with him. Now I'm probably thinking, because I'm a big 90s guy too, but the more and more I think about it, the more and more I delve into it, I really think 91, and not just because of Nevermind, but 91 was a pretty good year, because you also had My Bloody Valentine, that Loveless record. I don't know if you like Slint. I really like Slint. They're like they like invented post rock, I guess you would call it. But it was also, I think they kind of also invented emo. I don't really recall any bands having this kind of really twinkly, like, not the best production, like very earnest production quality with like shouty vocals, and then like very just
Jesus Lizard, if you ever check out that band.
Yes. Goat came out that year too.
That came out in 91. Okay, yeah.
It came out in 91. That's another one. But yeah, just I think there was a ton of shit that year, and I think if I was gonna say like best year for music, I guess like right now I'd probably say 91.
91. All right.
And of course, you got Nevermind.
Yeah.
Which no one can deny.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can't deny it.
What's next for Brian Medlin in the music world?
This Saturday. I don't know when you're gonna post this.
Probably as soon as possible.
So then this Saturday I'm playing a solo show.
Nice.
It's a fundraiser. So it's kind of like
Sure.
It's supposed to be an invite only. So I guess it's just like, if that sounds appealing to you, fundraiser acoustic. I'm playing with Nathan Alabach, and
Is it Saturday night?
Yep.
Shit, I got a Bro Scrotum Levitt show. We're playing in Quakertown with
all right. Well, so you should plug yours as well.
Yeah, I'm playing in Quakertown with some bands that I'm not sure who they are. I know it's Bro Scrotum Levitt though. We're great. But yeah, where's that gonna be?
It's at like a coffee brewery.
Coffee establishment type?
It was a coffee brewery, is the way it was described to me.
Oh. Do they have the big vats where you can see through the glass?
Like, I hope so. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Like
a coffee distillery.
Yeah, I don't know. In like around Lansdale-ish suburbs, this area, I think.
Okay.
I wish I
actually
came with the details.
But
right. It is one of those just like, message us if you want to check it out. So I mean, if you message me,
it's a fundraiser. It's not supposed to be like a huge showcase.
Yeah. Like they didn't make it a public event on Facebook.
I gotcha.
So.
Okay, so all of you out there, don't come because it's very exclusive.
So yeah, anyone can come, but it's just invite only.
Gotcha.
It's one of those things. Is the way it was. I'm just following the rules,
Yeah.
I'm not the promoter. So.
They're watching or they're listening.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything too outlandish.
Yeah. And then I guess just on the bigger, grander scale. I guess played drums in Legendary Divorce our record is finished. We're kind of working on the artwork, and release date is going to be Valentine's Day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then
it's very fitting for a divorce.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that was Reptilian Records' idea, and I do like a solo thing with my band, the Elk Band. I can't say when that'll come out. We're just working on vocals right now. I started a new band with Charlie and Rhino. I played in a band called Personnel with them back in the day.
Very familiar person.
Ryan is playing in Vacationer now.
Is he like full time?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice.
That band's very full time.
Yeah. Well, I know they tour a lot, but was he always a member, Brian?
Ryan, yes. Yeah.
Is it Ryan or Brian?
Ryan.
Oh, Ryan. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking of somebody else. Never mind.
Yeah. He was,
I think you said Brian.
Yeah, he was always a member.
That's cool, and they're great. Vacation is really cool.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree.
Mm-hmm. And
and doing the podcasts, Volcano Vinyl. It's on iTunes.
Yeah, check out Volcano.
You should put this on iTunes, man. I'm just saying.
I'm getting there. I mean, this is episode 4, I think. So eventually, I think I'll be able to justify it being on iTunes. Right now, I'm good with just having like kind of a smaller distribution type thing. See where it goes.
Yeah, and we kind of did the same thing. Like we recorded. I guess it was 3 before we officially put everything up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so.
Yeah, and you know what? I've actually like I get hit up a lot from a lot of different people trying to do episodes, and right now it's just trying to fit everything into my schedule. Like I had no idea this would take off as much. You know, it's not like I'm competing with Mark Maron, but like I mean, like it's just people want to be on it. So like I think I kind of gauge the success of it like that way, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, well then you just kill them with content is like kind of what we're trying to do with Volcano Vinyl. Just throw up.
Oh my God! The more
like 20 episodes and then throw them all up at once.
The more the merrier. Yeah. Like that's because like if someone just can hone in on one thing, if my philosophy is if I'm down for one episode, I'm down for like 4 more. Mm-hmm. Like if I got the time for one, like I can, like because like I think I'm in it to win it for a couple more episodes if I'm listening. So like I want to do that as if I was listening to this podcast. So
definitely, yeah, and it's like a TV show. It kind of gets better as you go along. You know what I mean?
It gets
most TV shows anyway. Like the first few episodes, like aren't that good. You know, I'm one of these not so good episodes.
It's the Seinfeld syndrome.
But down the line, you're gonna have some great episodes.
Yeah.
No, I liked your previous episodes as well.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Well, dude, it was an honor having you on. I mean,
thanks for having me.
You were one of the first people I thought of for having people.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Like I said, when you approached me with this, you didn't have anything up. I don't know how much of the concept you had, but I was just like, I can always nerd out about Radiohead. And then I listened to the first episode. I'm like, they're getting really nerdy about Coheed and Cambria. Like, this is perfect.
Yeah, we really went above and beyond the nerdy on the first episode. Yeah. But me and Tom, like, he plays drums in Andros, and that's like that was super fun. But yeah, I mean, just trying to get as many people on as I can, and really trying to branch out and see who would want to be on. And I think the more name recognition I can get, the better. Just to see like, and it's also just kind of a therapeutic type thing for me, like just seeing like what people are doing, like what people like, and it's just like, just so I don't feel so isolated. I guess like I think the art of conversation kind of gets this out of people.
Definitely.
I think it's something I'm really a big proponent of.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, just an excuse to get together and talk music
and just bullshit and yeah.
Let's
see what's up. But dude, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
All right,
appreciate it.